You're in the virtual Watershed Symposium. Just make sure you're in the right place. And the afternoon session we're about to begin is Marketing Your Watershed Group. And we have Danny Forinash with the Charles Ryan Associates. And he is going to be our marketing expert and tell us all about how to market your watershed group. So just to go over the Zoom controls, if you can mute yourself while Danny is speaking, that'll cut down on some background noise. And if you want to turn your video on or off, there's the stop video or start video in the lower corner. And then at any time, enter any questions you have into the chat box, and we'll get some questions after Danny's presentation.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate the introduction, and I look forward to talking to you all about marketing your organization. First of all, I want to point out that I'm totally fine with you all interrupting me. So feel free to post a question in the chat or even interrupt me audibly, and I'll be happy to discuss whatever your questions, whatever your concerns are, because I want to make sure this presentation is useful to you and your organization. I'm going to fly through a lot of ideas here, from just the general logo to messaging to video. But if you have any specific questions about marketing your organization for your specific organization or your region, like I said, feel free to interrupt and just let me know. So this is kind of a highlight reel of some of the things that Charles Ryan does. One of my favorite things that we do here is the video that we put together. And I'm going to get to that a little later. We do have an in-house video team at Charles Ryan, and those are the most fun days when we can actually go out and execute. So marketing your organization, and I'm going to kind of go top to bottom. And I'm going to keep in mind that organizations come with a wide variety of needs, but also a wide variety of budgets. But just to tell you a little bit about us to start things off here. Charles Ryan, we have about 40 people in 4 different areas of the country: Richmond, Charleston, West Virginia, along with Columbus and Philadelphia. And we're a women-owned business as well as an official Google partner, which carries a lot of benefit on our side. And I'm not going to read through all this, but this kind of covers what Charles Ryan does in-house here. Everything from graphic design to website development to video production. And I'm kind of boring because I do none of that. I'm an account executive, but I kind of connect things all together with clients in the creative team here. So when you talk about marketing, oftentimes people will start with the brand. And a lot of times when you say brand, you think logo. So here are just a few of the logos that we've done, and we love doing logos, but your brand is so much more than a logo. It's your personality, it's the message behind that. It's the way that you talk to people to get people interested in your organization. And that goes beyond that. You can make all the collateral you want if you have the budget. You can make shirts, you can make pull-up banners, signage, wrap cards, brochures. It's all out there, it's all available. It really depends on what is your budget, because I can tell you that you can market your organization very effectively without any of this. It's great to have that stuff. It really is. It can be super useful. But if you don't have that budget, or you don't want to allocate your budget to that sort of thing, you can still market very effectively. And this is not meant for you to read, but I want to hop ahead to messaging, because messaging is absolutely critical, and it's one of those no-cost things. It's, what do you want to tell your audience? What is your core message, and how do you tell them that? This is really at the base of your brand, and at the base of your marketing effort. How do you talk about your organization to people so that they understand what you do and how they can be interested in what you do? But I'm going to back up a little bit. How do you define that? Goals, audiences, and research. And when I say research, I'm not talking about focus groups or spending $1 million to figure out what people think. This is about identifying who you want to reach. What is that type of person? Where are they geographically? And where are they in the market? Are they on social media? Do they have Facebook accounts? Are they online? Do they prefer older forms of marketing? These are good things to understand before you actually start reaching out to people. And again, throw out any questions that you would like that are specific to your organization in the chat function, and we'll be sure to cover that. There'll be a Q&A session at the end of the presentation as well, so throw out any questions at that point as well. So moving forward to everyone's favorite subject nowadays, social media. Who all here, raise your hands, whatever, who has some version of a social media account? Okay, most folks do. So one of the tricky questions that clients, that groups, that people always ask about is, I know I should be on social media, but exactly where should I be? So I'm going to go through some of the most popular platforms that are available on social media, and then I'm going to give you my opinion of where you should be as a group. So we're going to start off with the king of social media, whether you like it or not. It's Facebook. And with Facebook, you have Instagram. And so if you sign up for a Facebook account, you might as well do Instagram as well. And just generally speaking, with groups that we're talking to here today, I think Instagram is a fantastic platform for all of these groups. And because Facebook owns Instagram, they work very well together. They're easily connected. And a lot of the messaging that you're pushing on Facebook can easily be applied to Instagram. But Facebook gains millions of new accounts every day. A lot of people have concerns about Facebook, obviously. It's something that you read about in the news almost daily. But generally, just about everyone on Earth can be found on Facebook, whether they like to admit or not. So if everyone is there, that's a place you want to be as well. Whether you create groups on Facebook, whether you have events on Facebook, whether you have your own pages on Facebook, this is a great place to be if you're marketing your organization. And this is an example of a page of what it looks like on the front. And this is the back. The analytics that you get on Facebook when you have a page on Facebook are really dense and very useful. And they tell you a lot about the people that you're talking to. And they tell you who is actually listening. Here's another example of a nonprofit. This is one of my favorite social media tools. A lot of people would say, this isn't social media. This is Eventbrite. This is where you post events. But it can be a free platform and is a great place to reach people. And it is a social platform. You get people to register for your events, and you can bring them in that way. And it's very well connected with several types of social media, including Facebook. So if you have an event that you like to promote, I love using Eventbrite. You don't have to exchange money there. If you do, then they certainly get a percentage. But Eventbrite is very good about sharing free events. So I'm going to back up here because I haven't covered a lot of the giants of social media. A lot of times when you think about starting a social media campaign or having a presence, one of the first things you think about is Twitter. Twitter to me is so loud and so constant and so perpetual that Twitter is something that is secondary. It's easy to get lost in Twitter if you're not commenting multiple times a day, and you absolutely will get lost. And a lot of times it can be a waste of time and effort, and also money. LinkedIn, is that right? It's a little bit of the business after hours platform of the social media world. And it might be worth your time just to establish a presence there. But in my opinion as well, a lot of what you're doing on Facebook, you're going to be doubling your efforts with something like LinkedIn. And then at this point, you get down into things like TikTok. I don't know if you want to be on TikTok. It's very popular, but it's also very flighty. And then another big one that I'm going to refer to a little later, another giant of the social media world that you should always consider is YouTube. people don't necessarily think social media when they think YouTube, but it was one of the first social media platforms out there, and it continues to be a very social platform. And now that it's intertwined with Google, it really reaches a lot of people, and it can be very useful to you. So I'm going to hop ahead to email marketing. And every morning, if you're like me, you probably delete 50 emails. So you might want to, you might have the urge to dismiss this, but if you have an email marketing campaign to a group of people and your open rate is something like 10%, that's fantastic. If 10% of your audience is opening an email that you send out from a campaign to let them know about events, about activities, about the group itself, that's fantastic. And that means it's probably something that's worth your time. And this is an example of MailChimp. It's a very cost-effective way to send out very attractive email messages. Constant Contact is also available, and there's a bevy of free e-blast systems out there that you can use. And you can easily put together a very nice looking e-blast like the one here in less than 30 minutes. It allows you to create templates that you can use in the future. And if you have a site or a social media page, it's easily connected to those. They work very well together. And sometimes when you join MailChimp, you get a little monkey in the mail, and it's kind of cool, but that's kind of a side note. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention digital marketing. Communications, marketing, advertising, we tend to think about newspaper ads, billboards, printouts, table printouts, signage, all of that. Marketing is going the way of the internet and the digital world. This is where you reach most people now. It's very annoying when you see an ad when you're trying to watch a YouTube video, but you're still seeing the ad. Or when you're listening to Spotify or Pandora and you have a free account and you get ads. Or if you're watching Hulu and you get a commercial there, that's digital advertising. And digital advertising, as you all might know, is super creepy, and how they know about you and how they follow you, and they know exactly what ad you want to see. But that also gives you the ability as the potential advertiser to reach the exact people that you want to reach with your ads. And these are some groups here that we've had digital marketing campaigns with. You can spend millions of dollars on digital marketing, or you can spend a lot less. In a place like West Virginia, it doesn't cost a whole lot to do a social media campaign or a digital campaign. So again, if the budget allows, this can be very effective. And I'm including here Google AdWords because that's very critical. You have search engine optimization that I'm going to touch on later, but you can put money behind that and make sure that something comes up at the top of the search results as well. That's certainly something that's available too. And this is an example of the Craft Beer Festival is one of these, but most of these here is a Mountain Stage campaign that we worked with Mountain Stage on in 2018. And they saw big membership numbers come out of this, which is fantastic if you know what Mountain Stage is going through right now, like about almost any other organization. So let's start talking about the creative that you can use, the images that you can use. So I'm going to start with photography. West Virginia has some incredible photographers, again, if you have the budget. However, if you have a smartphone, you can take some pretty incredible images. And 2 of the images here were done with a smartphone, and 2 of them were done through paid photography. Anyone have any idea which the iPhone images were? So the Mountain Stage image was taken from the I'm sorry?
Nothing. I was just guessing, but never mind. Sorry.
What was your guess?
I was going to say the snowboarder and I think that's the New River Gorge, maybe.
We're done with the iPhone?
But.
Okay. Thank you for participating, but it's the exact opposite. The guy with the camera in the Mountain Stage shot were done with the iPhone, and the other 2 were professionally done. And this just goes to show you that you can take really great photography, and photography is the basis of a lot of creative elements. So you can do that at no cost, simply by thinking about your shot, getting some good lighting in there, and really getting 5 or 6 photos that you can continually use on your Facebook page, on your MailChimp account, whatever that might be. It's truly worth the time to come up with a photo collection. And then website. I don't know how many groups here have their own website, or you know, if you utilize websites at all, or if you're all on social media or nowhere at all. Websites are still very relevant. A lot of people view websites on their mobile devices, and as you'll notice that a lot of sites you go to are mobile first sites. So Internet 1.0 is still very relevant, still very there. It's a matter of making sure you're connecting to Web 2.0, which is social media, and making sure that it is a mobile friendly site. And you can do this very cost effectively with platforms like WordPress, which has improved so much over the past 2 years. But there are hundreds of sites out there like Wix that offer very low cost ways to build very nice looking websites. So now we're going to move into what I really like to tout is video production. And as you all can probably guess, video production can really get up there in price. But you can also do video production like you can with photography by trading out money with time and effort. If you have the time and effort to devote to video, I highly suggest that. And that's because video content is so much more effective than static images when you do marketing efforts. Whether you're talking about Facebook, digital advertising, just content on your website, it's really worth a day or two of concentrating on a nice looking video to really draw people in. And what we're talking about here today, the types of organizations we have here today, that imagery is there. You can really come up with beautiful video content that really represents your organization. 1, 2, 3, listen. So the audio is not too important for this, but again, I'm going to show some highlight reels of some low-cost video work that we've done at Charles Ryan Associates. You know, I'm subjective here, but I think this is very nice looking stuff. And as long as, again, you put the time and the effort into it and you have just the bare minimum of devices to shoot video, it's really worth your time. So some of you might have seen the film John Wick, and the director of that was hired by iPhone to use an iPhone to shoot an entire video. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but this video called Snow Brawl was shot entirely with an iPhone. So it's obviously nice to have professional actors and lighting set up to where you can make an iPhone video look like that. And no one here, including myself and the people I work with, can make a video that looks like that, like a John Wick movie. But we can make a video like this, and I have faith in everyone in this Zoom that you also can make a video that looks like this. This was an experimental video that we did with an iPhone as well. And this isn't Hollywood level, but it's very smooth, it's very nice looking. So that takes about 8 hours of time to produce a video of that nature. Is it worth your time? Like I said, I think it is. I think video in the year 2020 is the basis of every marketing effort if you have the time and you're willing to put the effort into that effort to market your organization. So I'm going to go through 5 things that can make the difference between a video that looks like it was shot on a cell phone and something that looked somewhat professionally done. And I'm going to start with a stabilizer. And this is a device that takes away the shake and the vibration that you usually have by walking around with a cell phone and taking a video with your hands. You simply slide it into this device and it communicates with your phone. This particular device is a DJI device, and it's a high quality device for under $100. But there are great devices available on Amazon or at a store like Best Buy that cost less than this and work very well. A Hollywood production company is going to use a device called a Ronin, which you hold with both hands and you put the camera in the middle and you can run around and you can jump with it and it's just perfectly smooth. And this device does the exact same thing with an iPhone or really any smartphone device. The other thing that any photographer is going to tell you that makes a huge difference with photography and video content is the lighting. So the device that's on screen and the device that I'm using here right now, actually, that you can't see, is an LED light that costs very little. And if you want to dampen the light, you can put parchment paper over the light and it works very well. And lighting makes a huge difference when you're filming. It makes it look so much better, and it's worthwhile to place light and make sure it's facing anyone, especially with interior shots. Outside, a lot of times you can get good lighting with the sun, but it's definitely a worthwhile investment if you ever do want to invest in video. Audio makes a huge difference as well. A lot of devices that people will use for podcasts, like the one that's on the screen here, this is called the Blue Snowball. Super affordable stuff and super high quality stuff that will really improve not only video content, but also Zoom meetings, video conferencing, a lot of what you're going to be doing on a website as well. You can really improve your efforts using a device like this. Also, it's totally worth your time to invest in scripting. Invest time in scripting. Don't just run out and shoot a video. You're going to save yourself a lot of hours by simply typing out what you plan to do in that video. It becomes a checklist, and then you're not outside aimlessly shooting video content that you're not going to go know what to do with in the end. And finally, a huge difference maker is going to be, don't just immediately put the video out there from your phone. Don't just share it. Put a little bit of effort into editing it. And there's a lot of intuitive software out there that doesn't cost a whole lot. A lot of it's free. This is an example of iMovie. It's a Mac product that will come with Mac products. A Mac software that will come with Apple products, sorry. That's, like I said, very intuitive, very easy to splice, add music to your video, spend an hour with it. It's going to look like a very nice product, and it's going to help your organization a lot.
Is there,
How do you see
I'm
without
sorry that
seeing?
just cut out.
How do you know without knowing? These are the
This is a
mysteries of
video that I
universe.
shot with some
These are the
friends using an
questions we
iPhone.
will answer with strict serious. Look out for them chickens. Over and out.
And please note,
Listen to me.
this was not
I'm only going to
CRI.
say this once. We're going to do the chicken box challenge. It's going to be weird. It's going to make you feel stupid. It's going to be hard not to fall. It's going to be even harder to stay quiet. But you have to do both. You have to do every single thing I say, or we'll not make it. Do you understand? Under no circumstances are you allowed to remove your blindfold. If we found out that you have, you'll be disqualified. Do you understand? It's going to be weird. You're going to be on your knees and attached to me with the string. Girl, you'll have a challenge. Boy, you'll have a challenge. This is just a game. There's nothing to fear except a giant chicken. Do you understand? And no talking. You must listen because people will be helping us. Do you understand? Stop it. Stop it. Do you understand?
So a very silly video that I simply shot with a couple audio devices and an iPhone myself. Took a couple hours and then another hour of editing. Not a serious example, but it kind of shows what a little effort you can produce something that's pretty high quality, if I say so myself. Did someone have a question before we started that video? I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. Sorry, my cut for a minute. But, I know you were talking about programs. Is there anything that is not for Mac that is free and fairly user friendly as far as editing goes that you recommend?
Video editing? Was that what I heard? Video editing? Okay. Adobe makes some products that you can subscribe to that are very user friendly. And there are some free editing software tools available online. Honestly, I would Google editing software for free. And the first few things that come up in Google are probably going to be very good tools that you can use. And if they're free, they don't come with the bells and whistles. And those are going to be things that you don't need to produce high quality video. So if you move away from iMovie, the equivalent that you're going to find on a PC is probably going to be an Adobe product. And sometimes that costs money. But like I said, some of the top products that you're going to find on Google, you're going to find some good editing software in general.
Yeah. Okay. I was also wondering, as far as taking, a lot of photos with your phone and things like that to be able to start marketing. Obviously, coming with that comes with a lot of storage. Is there? I automatically upload usually Google Pictures. Is there anything in particular that you find helps stream?
I'm sorry.
Online, kind of not slow the actual tech down.
So yeah, Google and Amazon and companies like that do offer free cloud storage, which I think is useful.
Yeah.
But you're asking, I didn't get the last part of your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just wondering, is there any other ways to be able to help make sure, your actual tech, the phone that you're using that has to be, the videos don't lag? Is there anything other than, just doing the cloud storage that you utilize to help prevent that kind of bog down?
Oh, I see what you're asking. A jump drive can be very helpful if you have a laptop device that you can easily get the video content and the photo content on and store it on a jump drive or an external hard drive. You can buy really nice hard drives for about $50 that have a terabyte of space, which you'll never get a terabyte of space. So you might need a little investment there if you want a hub for storing all the content, but I generally use cloud or a laptop for storage.
Okay, thank you.
Our editors here use external hard drive because they have just massive amounts of video. So I do know that that's an effective way to store, but I don't see a problem working off of a laptop hard drive, generally speaking. Thank you for your question. And one of the, Tommy mentioned using, how do you pronounce that, Tommy?
Not totally sure.
Okay.
Take a stab at it. Yeah, it's very easy to use, and it works well on PCs.
And Jonathan shared a couple examples as well. And that's a good point about grants that can be applied to creative as well. AdWords advertising, Jonathan brought that up as well.
Awesome.
In fact, Mountain Stage used a $10,000 grant for its campaign that included AdWords, and that's the campaign that we worked with them on. So that's a great point to bring up.
Our backs are against the wall.
We've had to close our dining rooms.
Close shop.
It's been a long time since last call.
A while since we talked to our clients face to face.
A while since our last community event.
Weeks since business as usual.
It's all about the health and safety of our communities.
For the safety of our family and yours.
We know it's for the best. We're in this together.
But it's been difficult, and we have some difficult weeks ahead.
More than ever, we need to have each other's backs.
Sending tips from afar.
Giving blood. Picking up when we can't die out.
We
got your back.
Writing words of encouragement.
Helping our district businesses with promotions and navigating loan and grant programs.
Because we will be back.
I'll need a haircut.
We'll have your back.
We'll need a drink.
I'll have your back.
I mean, like 10 times.
We'll have your back.
Walking the boulevard to stay in shape.
We're strolling Main Street.
I'll need a new pair of running shoes.
We've got your back. I want a block party. We need a block party.
We need a block party.
We'll be back on schedule soon.
We're ready to see live music today.
We've got your back.
Back to shopping local. Back to supporting a small business.
Back to gathering with friends.
Back to celebrating. Back to business.
Because in Charleston,
And almost heaven.
Good times and bad. We've got each other's backs. We've got each other's backs.
we've got each other's backs.
We've got each other's backs. We've got each other's backs. We've got each other's backs.
We've got each other's backs.
We've got each other's backs.
We got each other's backs. We got each other's backs.
So I wanted to include that as an example of, we work with Charleston Main Streets a lot, and obviously the local businesses on Main Street here in Charleston were struggling in March, April, and May. And they just wanted to come together and get the word out. You know, we're still here to serve you, even if you can't come inside, even if people are at home, stuck at home. We want to get that message out to our customers. So we used Zoom, we used their own cell phone footage, and we threw that all together. And you can see the variation in the footage there and the audio there, but it still comes together as a very nice video that's very authentic. Okay, so we have a few minutes left here before we want to get to Q&A. Again, I'm going to go back to the previous video because I don't think you all could hear me, but I just wanted to show a video that you could see the difference in video quality throughout, because people were using their own laptops and their own mobile devices to splice together a lot of different clips into what ended up being a very authentic video. From businesses that were wanting to let people know that they were still there and ready to serve them, and once this was all over, they would still be there ready to serve them. So that was a Charleston Main Streets video that we put together at no cost. It was just a matter of a lot of teamwork and some editing time as well to put together a decent video there. I'm going to touch on Zoom and really any other video conferencing platform, because in the year 2020, that's a big part of marketing. It's not just about meeting like we are here today. You can really put out your organization's message through the constant Zoom meetings that we're having. And as you know, there's a little bit of a cost with Zoom, but there are some free platforms out there as well. If you utilize Teams, if you utilize Google Hangout, WebEx, the service that Facebook provides as well is getting better and better at bringing people together. So that's always an effective way to share your message and your brand, especially, like I said, in the year 2020. We're going to be doing this for several more months, I feel like. And I think over the coming months, Zoom is going to allow you more ways to share your brand as well as it continues to optimize. Surveys. SurveyMonkey is another great platform that you can use to ask people what they think about what you're doing. One of the best ways to engage people, and we know this through social media, is to invite their input and ask them questions about what you're doing. How did the event go? What do you think about our messaging? How could we improve? And there are zero-cost survey methods out there. I highly recommend asking your members and asking the people who attend your events what they thought of what you were doing. And that feeds back into the research aspect, because you'll know how to better communicate with people going forward. And this is not a one-off thing. This is a constant thing. This is something you should always refine going forward, is asking people what they think. You not only gauge how people feel, but you're literally engaging them. So that went by fairly quickly. I know we covered a lot, but I wanted to make sure that we set aside some time as well for specific questions involving marketing. So feel free to ask those or enter those in the chat.
Danny?
I have a question.
Sure.
Have you, we previously had an issue with business profile, something with the back login through our Facebook page, because I guess we've paid previously to market on Facebook, which is like the business.facebook login.
Sure, yeah.
However, I think our employee overturn, we don't know where that login is. And so it's really been hard because I can't post straight from Instagram. I can't cross post, so it's double the work.
Yeah.
I've been trying to contact them both via Instagram and helping on that, or who to contact that maybe connections that I'm missing to be able to streamline that.
I wish I had a good answer for you there, but the real answer is that Facebook advances and optimizes so quickly that they leave the customer behind.
Yeah.
And
I think
the
that's what
honest
happened.
answer there is we don't pay them money for our free platform, so they don't value us. And that's a dark way to put it, but it's true. They're going to respond to companies that pay them money much more quickly. So we're in the middle of a 4-month battle to bring together 2 Facebook pages that represent the same restaurant. So I know what you're going through, and I know that it's really difficult to work with Facebook to come up with a lost account because they're not very good about giving you login information that you've lost.
They are not.
My only advice would be to continue asking them to help. Eventually they will respond to you because the login information to the business side of that is very valuable to you, as you know, and that's going to help you a lot. And I don't think you want to lose the traction that you've already invested in Facebook. So
yeah.
I know.
Yeah, a couple of comments. Very good presentation.
Thank you.
And the Cold River Group's had tremendous success with the use of Facebook. Probably overuse it, but it's, back when I was in your business, if we'd have had something like this, we'd been making millions of dollars. It's cheap, it's easy, it's easy to manage. And we use multiple Facebook pages for multiple audiences. And we do a whole lot of things in the Cold River Group, from cleanups to history followings to water trails to rentals, and we have a different Facebook with each one, and then we tie those together and we try to populate each of those Facebook pages almost daily. And I guess my recommendation is if you're in a small organization, don't do what we do, but at least whatever you do on Facebook, populate it every day if you can, and to keep your audience, keep new things going. Photography from your members or your volunteers, everybody's a photographer nowadays. You ask for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you say, I agree with 100%. Facebook content on a daily basis is worthwhile. I presented to the group last year when we were able to be in person, and I really talked endlessly about organic content and paid content. So I didn't want to drone on about that this year, but what you said touches on that. The organic content really pays off because the more organic content, and that's free content, that you put on social media, the more momentum you're going to have. If you get more likes, more shares, Facebook automatically generates more eyes for your content. Now, if you want to put a little money behind a Facebook ad, it takes very little money, especially in a state like West Virginia, to reach a ton of people. So it can be worthwhile to spend $1 a day if you have that to promote an event or to promote even your group's page. That can be very, very well spent money because Facebook also has not caught up in terms of how valuable its service is. It doesn't cost a lot to advertise on Facebook, and in a few years, I fear that's going to change quite a bit. But for now, we should take advantage.
That'd be a good idea too. I mean, not everybody's in a heavily covered media area like we are, but use your media. I mean, I think my advice to people is if you've got news, go make some news. And when you make some news, report your news. And everybody's looking for stories. I mean, Facebook's different news carriers, as well as everybody's got a new way to present news, but there's only so much news. So organization, whatever it might be, every day you're doing something that's interesting to somebody. So if you know how to write a news release, if you don't, go on Google, it'll show you how to do it. Take a lot of pictures and post them throughout the areas, because people are looking for news and your volunteers are looking for recognition.
Yeah.
So the combination there will make things go a lot better for everyone.
Thank you for bringing that up as well. I did not touch on earned. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not touch on earned media, which is no cost promotional value. As you just said very well, spending some time with a news release and really working on a TV station or a newspaper reporter is really worthwhile. It's free promotion when you get the resulting story. And yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because earned media is not something that I included in my presentation, but it's a critical part of a marketing plan. Absolutely. I see a few questions here, so I'm going to try to hit on these. What should groups put on their Facebook page versus their web page? We talked about early on that core messaging that a group would have. I think that messaging should be present on your Facebook page as well as your web page. Think of your website as kind of your hub where people can go to and find that basic about us information, the contact information, everything they need to know. And then your Facebook feed is going to be filled with the current stuff. It's going to be what events are coming up, what are we doing, and just continuous message that is voiced in a different way than you might voice it on your website. So I think they complement each other, but the day-to-day stuff is going to be what you want to include on Facebook. And a lot of platforms have widgets that allow you to feed Facebook, Twitter, whatever that might be, directly to your website as a social media feed as well. And I suggest that if it's available to you. And I'm reading from the chat section here, one other element of having all these accounts is management of logins. And that's a very good point. I forget passwords every single day, and I always refer to my app, which stores my login information so that I don't forget and I'm not locked out. Because I've certainly gotten locked out of accounts, and it can be a nightmare, as it was mentioned earlier. So that's a good point. Talking a little bit about services that post to multiple platforms at the same time, like Hootsuite. Are there free ones that anyone knows of? And I believe there's a free version of Hootsuite that is super limited that you can use. It's really difficult to think of a platform that posts to many different platforms at once without asking you to pay money. There are free versions that might tie in something like Twitter and YouTube, or Twitter and Facebook, or maybe 3 platforms. So you can utilize that and then maybe post individually to anything else you have. There are some website platforms that allow you to do that as well. If you build a site on Wix, I think there's a widget that you might be able to purchase one time that allows you to feed to multiple social platforms at once. But it's tough to find an effective one that does really well and maintains a schedule and does everything you will need it to do. Falcon is a great tool, but it does cost money. I don't have a better answer there, I'm sorry, but the free ones are going to limit you in terms of how many sign-ins you can have at one time. And go ahead.
I researched that a little bit earlier this year because we use Hootsuite, and I do think you can message Hootsuite and say you're a nonprofit and you can get either a discount or some a little cheaper. And there's another company that I'm blanking on the name of that does that as well. But otherwise, I was not successful in finding any other that, like you said, do all the platforms. And I do know Hootsuite had some struggles this year at some point when Facebook bought Instagram, and there was kind of a lag time. But Hootsuite is pretty good about coming up and telling you, like, hey, we're temporarily having an issue with this platform, you know, but sometimes it does get a little difficult. I had a question about when you were talking about organic creativity being brought as far as like photos being sent in by the public and everything. Is it, I've had been asking individually when people send things in, like, hey, do you mind if we use this? Do we have permissions? However, it does get a little hard, you know, if I have a predecessor come in and, you know, they don't know what photos have permissions or not. I've been trying to make a system of that, but I didn't know if it's posted, is it just kind of appropriate to reuse or publicly, or?
It's always good to give permission if you can, but a lot of stuff that's on Facebook legally is public domain. So it becomes kind of a polite thing to do to ask people if you can share that content.
Okay, but not like legally binding, as long as you give somebody permission if you like reused it and said like this was sent in by so-and-so or something.
Yeah, like I said, that's always a good thing to do, to ask permission, give people credit when they do produce photography or other types of creative. Attorneys have generally sided, or courts have sided with the public domain usage, because you have settings available on Facebook and most social media platforms that would disallow people from sharing certain types of content. So that almost becomes a legality, and attorneys who get paid a lot more than I do have a better understanding of that. But generally speaking, it's all out there in the public domain.
Something you might want to point out, the legality, particularly as it relates to large events or special events you have. Anything that you have, like a kayak a trip or a race or something like that, in your application form, we always put you agree to photos that have been taken here to be published as part of the promotion for this activity. That you can build in a little protection. None of these things stops a lawyer from suing you, but at least you've got some protection. The other thing, common sense says, with all of us that have events with children.
And do you just put that on the like event?
I'm sorry.
Do you just put that on the event or like Eventbrite page or anything like that, where people would sign up, or the Facebook event page?
It's best
just at the bottom.
It's best if it's written and signed on a paper form, really, or a electronic form, as long as it's said. The other thing, the point I want to make is be very careful about. We do a lot of events with children, and taking pictures of children is really a difficult thing, and publishing them today in today's world, no matter any time. But be very careful about that. Even if they give you permission, I'd be very cautious about what I do.
Yeah,
that is a good.
And that's one thing we've always previously been very strict with, but now, you know, virtually, not being able to meet in person and get forms signed, or ask the other organization that, you know, hosts the kids. They usually already have permissions or can ask the parents quickly. So transferring that virtually, I have been very kind of nervous about that.
Yeah, those are good points about waivers and permission and all that. A lot of people put them on the tickets for events. You said Eventbrite. So we've posted it on signs that said, you know, when you enter an event, we might be photographing you and we might use it in a commercial. The good news is, if someone does say, hey, take my image off the air, the law enforcement will generally say, hey, you just need to take them out. It doesn't come with jail time or a fine or anything. So in our experience, when people complain about being part of a commercial, it's just a matter of editing them out and then putting the new version on air. But those are a lot of good points about legalities, because it gets very dense and thick. And I'm going to go back to, we were talking about, we've talked about WordPress, which had some big security problems about 5 years ago, and they've improved those tremendously. And I'm going to go back to the social hubs like Hootsuite that we were talking about as well. It's worthwhile to spend a few minutes in researching some of these free tools and even some of the paid tools to make sure that they have a certain level of security, because there have been problems with some platforms of hackers being very easily able to find account information with, and getting into a Facebook page might not be valuable, but a lot of people use their same password for Amazon, and that's super valuable to a hacker. So just spend some time and look at what the firewalls are for some of these devices and some of these tools.
Thank you so much, Danny. That was really informative. I hope the Watershed groups got a lot out of that as far as like how to market your group to your community. So we're going to